Welcome back to Gaming Top Down. This is David, continuing my video series on every game in my collection, letter by letter, and I'm breaking them down into different categories. Upcoming games, games I haven't played yet, games I'm thinking of purging, and my favorite games that start with each letter. In this video, we'll be going over the letter H. So without any further ado, let's hop right in. First up, I have one upcoming game that should be delivering to me in the next couple of months, and that is Harvest. This is a worker placement game where you are trying to start and manage your own farm. This is not a very complex game, somewhat kind of medium light, but it looks like it's a fun time. It's from Keymaster Games, and I really love Caper Europe, one of their other games, and I know Parks has been a huge hit for them. The components look really good, and I think it looks like a fun time and probably a good way to introduce someone to modern board gaming with elements such as worker placement and managing your water and fertilizer resources. And yeah, so I'm hoping that this one will be a hit and not too samey as some of the other worker placement games that I have, but that is Harvest coming up soon. Next up, for games I haven't played yet, I've got a couple. First is one I just barely got. This is Havalandi from Pegasus Spiel and the good Dr. Rainer Knizia. In this game, you are placing out your own hot air balloon tokens, trying to get as many points from them as you can. You're limited in where you can place them from where this hot air balloon kind of cardboard miniature is pointing. So you can go down one of these two rows in that scenario. And you can either place a token somewhere there, or you can kind of flip over and activate one of your groupings of them. And based on where those groupings are and how far they are from kind of the central trail in the middle, you'll get points. So it's very much an abstract game in that way, but I think it looks nice and it's supposed to be fairly solid. So I am excited to try this one out. That is Havalandi. Next is one that I do think I will love a lot. I like roll and write, flip and write games, and this is very well regarded in that genre, but it is very complex. This is Hadrian's Wall. And yeah, like I said, this is probably one of the more or most complicated roll and write games. And every time you play, you get two sheets that you'll set next to each other, and you'll have a few cards and some workers, and you're placing the workers out in conjunction with kind of your standard roll and write fare, where you are marking a bunch of things off on your player sheets, which might combo into something else and combo into something else. It's supposed to be amazing though. So I've had this one for a little bit, and I do very much mean to get it to the table soon, because I think I will end up really loving it. That is Hadrian's Wall. Next up, I only have one game in my thinking of purging category, and it's one that we have liked quite a bit, to be honest. This is kind of a party game. It's called Hues and Cues, and it plays 3 to 10 players, so good for kind of a larger group. And in this game, on each turn, someone will be the clue giver. Kind of a loud box, sorry about that. And they'll draw a card, and it will give them 4 options of colors for them to choose. And you can see kind of the coordinates for that color as well. And so looking at that color, you have to give a 1-word and then a 2-word clue to try and get the other players to place their guesses, their pieces, as close to your square as possible. The closer they get, the more points you'll earn, but they will also get some points for being accurate as well. It's pretty fun and pretty quick. You're just kind of placing out your guess tokens on the spots that you think match the color. There's a little bit of groupthink in this game where, someone says, I don't even know, strawberry, and you were thinking it's a pretty dark shade of red, and someone leans more towards pink, and you're like, wow, maybe they're right. So it's kind of fun to see where other people place their pieces. But I do think the novelty on this one wears off a little bit quickly. We'll probably play it another time or two and make a final verdict about it. But it is a fun game. I would recommend it, especially to people that like lighter games with a bigger group. This one is very good for larger groups. That is Hues and Cues in my thinking about purging section. All right, and next up are a few games in my favorites list that start with the letter H. First up is this pocket version of a 2-player abstract game called Hive. I love that you can just kind of take this one with you anywhere. In this game, you'll either play as the black tokens or the white tokens, and both players have a bee. And then there's a bunch of different bug pieces, such as, let's dump a few out here so you can see. Yeah, such as grasshoppers and ladybugs and spiders and beetles and ants. And these will the pieces will be linked together kind of like this. You can't ever place something just out randomly. They have to be connected by some edge. And every piece has a unique movement kind of rules. Like the ant, I think, can move like 2 or 5 kind of spaces. And you're trying to completely surround your opponent's bee. And if you're able to lock it in so that it is completely surrounded, you win. But yeah, the kind of the variety there with how the board will be set up and morph from game to game is really cool. It's a little bit tricky to understand kind of the smartest strategies at first because there isn't a board, with squares and something like chess. It's the board's just kind of built by you and the person you're playing with. So you do have to do a bit of thinking and kind of visualizing that at first. But it is a very fun game. This beetle, for example, can go like on top of the normal board, and so each bug just does something different. And it's a fun, pretty quick, 20-minute abstract game. Really like Hive. All right, next up is a game that I want to play a few more times because I think now that I am more interested in this genre, I will like it more. But I did like it the first couple times we played it, and that is Hanami Koji. This is a 2-player game that is a I Split You Choose game where you are trying to win the influence of these geishas in the middle. And you can only do one of 4 different actions on your turn, and they usually revolve around giving your opponent some cards, and they will choose like 1 or 2 of the cards and then give you the rest back. So you're trying to be very strategic with what you give them in that set of cards, because then you'll be placing those cards out in front of the geishas on your side of the board, and whoever wins the most influence from the geishas will win the game. Plays in about 15 minutes. It's really, really solid. I know this is a very well-loved game in the genre. The genre is just kind of new to me. I don't have really, besides this and The Great Split, which was in my Unplayed category for the letter G, I think those are the only 2 games I have with this mechanism. So it's fairly new to me, but I do like this one, and I'm excited to explore it a little bit more. So that is Hanami Koji. Next up is my favorite game in the Legend of D6 series, this roll and write series where I've just printed them off and laminated them, but you can just print a new copy every time if you would like. In this one, you are trying to dig as deeply as you can for this dwarven king. You have a certain number of turns, and you're trying to get as much gold as you can, and then you spend that gold to build different things in the mine that will help you either dig deeper or score points towards the end of kind of your run. And the earlier that you can get some of these things out, like the vaults and the throne room, you'll get to mark off a points crown every turn for the rest of the game. So you might want to rush and try and do that, or you might not try and shoot down as quick as you can and might really build out some good upper level caves. It's a really fun one. I think this game is really solid. Once you've played it a few times, you can do it in 10 to 15 minutes. And I've really enjoyed this one. This is one that got me into this Legends of D6 series, and I still think that it is my favorite of the bunch. So that is Hall of the Dwarven King. Next up is a word game that is probably very hard to get. It's from a little company in Canada called Turnip Games, and it's called Hex. I have a kind of a nostalgic love for word games. I used to play Scrabble all the time with my grandmother. I'm not really a huge fan of Scrabble anymore, but I think Hex strikes a really great balance with being more modern, shorter, and still giving me kind of the fun of putting letters on a board to make words. In this game, you're trying to have the most letters in your color at the end of the game. And if you spell a new word that overlaps with an existing word, and there are some wild tiles, then you get to flip whatever is in that word over to your side. And it has these nice grooves. Whoops. A little difficult when you're holding the board up. Some nice grooves to make flipping them very easy. So you'll flip them to your color. And you're just trying to have the most of them at the end of the game. Makes it a lot easier to score, because generally in Scrabble you have to score every turn that you do, where this is just scoring at the end is counting how many of red and how many of black there are. These wild tokens are helpful to make good words, but they're a little risky. When you use them, you have to roll a 20-sided die, and some specific thing will happen based on this board, which might be something that helps you, but it might be something that hurts you as well. This is a really great word game. 20 minutes to play, and like I said, it gives me the Scrabble feel with having a bit more kind of like I think, a better spatial puzzle here, where you're not just shooting for the triple word score bonus tiles. You're trying to stay in the center kind of, and be involved in as many of the words as you can, so that you can flip over as many letters to your color as possible. I really like Hex. I hope that this one will get a little more buzz one day. Not sure about that, but Hex is great. Next up is a party game that I have really liked lately. This is called Half Truth, and it's actually a trivia game where you can play with up to 6 teams. We usually play this one in couples or something, so we've played with 12, 14 people before, and each team just kind of submits their answers. The thing I like about this game is it's a trivia game where you don't have to be good at trivia to do good at the game, because games like that, Trivial Pursuit and stuff, the person that's the best at trivia knows the most of those facts, they'll just win, which can be fun based on the scenario, but I think this is more fun for a larger audience. In this game, there will be some trivia question asked. The example on the back here is movies over 3 hours long, and then it'll give you 6 answers to that question. 3 of them are true, 3 of them are false. And so on your turn, you can bet up 1, 2, or 3. Kind of 1 to be safe, 2 to double down, and 3 to triple down. If you double and triple down, you'll get bonus points if you are right. But if you do that and even one of the answers you put down are wrong, then you don't get anything. So on most turns, it is a lot safer to just do a single guess in this game. And that's where the decision making and fun in this game comes in, is when do we double down? When do we triple down? Should we play it safe? When should we not play it safe? More than, oh, I don't know movies as well as someone else. A lot of the questions are very tricky, and you're not going to know perfectly which 3 are true, but you might know one of them. Oh, I know one of these 6, but I have no idea on the other. So we're going to be safe this round, still get to move up the track. And so, yeah, like I said, since you don't have to be excellent at trivia, I've played it with so many people that don't like trivia games that have really liked this one. It also comes with a humongous number of cards, 500 trivia cards. We've played this game probably 6 or 7 times and only gone through like 50 to 70 of the cards, so haven't even touched like 10%, well, about 10% of the cards. So anyways, Half Truth is a really good one if you like things that are trivia adjacent and like party games. Check that one out. Okay, not last up, actually, 2 more. Next up is Honey Buzz. this is a very pretty and really solid game from Elk Creek Games. I think this is the game that kind of put them on the map. It's about selling honey kind of to these forest creatures. And so you'll play as different kind of groups of bees. Groups isn't the right word, but you know what I mean. And on your turn, you'll be sending out your bee workers to different spots that might do different things. You get to move your bee around and collect pollen. You can then sell that pollen based on the market price. That might actually be called nectar. I get the two mixed up. You can also sell the pollen for its market price. After you sell it, its price drops a bit, just, kind of the supply and demand there. And then you're taking these hex pieces, and anytime you place them in your hive and they leave an empty cell, then you get to activate every bonus surrounding that empty cell. And that's the main way that you will perform actions in this game. So there's a lot going on here. You've got this spatial puzzle. You're trying to get more workers from where you place kind of your bee workers. You're trying to sell to make a lot of money. Whoever has the most money at the end is just the winner. Completing these animal contracts that want very specific types of nectar can get you a lot of points. So yeah, this game is just really great. Just a touch of economic flair there makes it fun to watch the market kind of fluctuate. You're building out your own hive. This one's really, really super. I think it has a big like fall festival or something expansion coming out this year, and I'm very excited to check that out as well. So that is Honey Buzz. And last up for this category, my favorite games that start with the letter H is Heat Pedal to the Metal. This is my favorite like pure racing game where the objective is just to cross the finish line before everyone else. I think it's the best one I've played because you actually feel like you're racing. You shift. It is a card game, but you have to shift up and down. You really feel fast, especially on straightaways. You can just, really punch it and push your engine to have some crazy big turns. But then you have to be careful around the corners. Yeah, I can't say enough good about Heat. I think it's wonderful. The box is maybe a little bigger than I wish it was, but there is a lot in this game. It has 2 giant boards that are double-sided. So there's 4 maps in the game that you can race on. For a lot of variety there. And then it has like 3 or 4 different mini expansions in the game. My favorite is the Garage module, where you get to draft your own unique kind of cards into your deck so that you have a slight difference in your deck from the other players. But really, this is all about hand management and understanding your deck, because 95% of the cards you have in your deck are identical to the cards that everyone else has. And so who can use those cards the best? When is the best time to push your engine, pull some heat into your deck that will clog up your hands? When's the best time to shift down so that you can cool off and put some of that heat from your hands back onto your engine so that your deck is then cleaned up a little bit? Yeah, a really great kind of management of a deck of cards, all kind of entrapped in this really fun race. When there's a big straightaway, you might have turns where you move 20 spaces. So you don't ever feel like slow. The game can be a little long. I played it with 6 players recently, and it did take us about 2 hours. But I did have to teach the other 5 players how to play. So really, it's not like a long game. You're blasting around this track, really just slowing down to make sure you don't go around a corner too quickly and crash. Heat is great. I'm really excited to check out the expansion that's pretty popular right now too. So that is going to round out my favorite games that start with the letter H. Have you played any of these games? What is your favorite game that starts with the letter H? Make sure to check out the other videos I have in this series and the rest of the content that I do here on the channel. I do unboxings and reviews. And make sure to check out the monthly giveaway that we have going on. Should be a link in the description below. And I will see you on the next video when we talk about games that start with the letter I. Thanks so much, and I'll see you then. Bye.